Welcome to Stephen Johnson's Stocks. I'm only going to take this once because I really want to get something straight from the heart of where I am right now. And it has been a terrible kind of period where it's only kind of now where the neurotransmitters are pushing out that endorphin again, pushing out that little ray of hope. But that hasn't come organically or naturally. That's come from a lot of you guys, and you know who you are, who I'm talking to. I've been with Tim Sykes on the channel very publicly. Everyone knows this, and I've done relatively well and come a long way, and I've been profitable twice. But the great thing about this community is a lot of you guys have reached out to me and offered your own advice, and for some of you, I've really took that on board, and I've learned a serious amount. So I just want to kind of give an idea of the direction where I'll be going in the future and how things have changed and the mistakes that I've made. Because granted, I've lost some money, but I'm starting to think that this failure could be the best thing that has ever happened to me. And you're going to say, you're fucking mental, Stephen. And I'm going to say, not really, because through failure comes opportunity, and through failure comes aggressive study and new learning, and it pushes you to get to the next level. And especially with the gap and scrap strategy, I knew it like 50% inside out, 60% inside out, but I'm still making silly mistakes. I'm still relying on volume too much and data a little bit too much, and I really missed the fundamental side. And well, I'll not give everything just yet because I really want to show you guys that I can do it profitably. Once you start seeing the 1K weeks, the 1K days even, and the 3-4K months come in, then I'm going to reveal every part of how I got here. But until then, let's just get a glimpse of where I went wrong and where I'm going. So in reality, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I haven't really traded. I've had a pal, Peter Roscoe, come over. I hope his name's Peter Roscoe. I keep on calling him that. I'm sure it's Peter Roscoe. But I've hung out with him, having a good time with him. And now that he's gone, I've gone into some serious study, and I realized some vital flaws. So there's not really any trades in this. There's no trades at all. It's very specifically what went wrong. And it's been disarray for a while. I mean, taking like a $4,000 loss in May, and then I'm sure I'm down a good $2,000 in June after finding some consistency. And really what went wrong? Well, we were in a market where stocks didn't really gap and go. There was never enough volume for them to really push. And over the kind of March and April, I got into the habit of thinking that this was just the norm, that any stock that gapped 25, 30, 40% would spike 8, 9% and fail. I hadn't seen a really bullish aggressive market with heavy volume. And I just got torched on a couple of stocks. Then I lost the confidence, and then everything went wrong. But where I really went wrong is I had all of this data, and this data it's very good. I mean, I've got hundreds of gap and crap setups. I know the percentages of how many stocks in general gap up and fail. And I've even got, if the gap up between 25 and 40%, I've got data to suggest things like how many stocks that gap up 25 to 40% fail. Well, I mean, about 55 plus 31, 65, 75, about 86%. If you're short into a 7-8% spike, about 86% of the time you win. And generally, about 76% of the time, they'll knock it over 9%. So if you cut your loss at 9% of a spike, you'll lose 12% on the times that it actually goes. And if it goes more than, and you'll lose another 24% of the time that it goes more than 10% if you shorten 8, 9%. And I mean, it's a strategy that can work, but there's not that many opportunities, and there's not that many stocks that might get 25 to 40%. And then you've got 40 to 60%, which is a bit more wild. And then I even broke it down by kind of float and volume. So for example, if a stock has a big float, say a 26 million plus, generally most of the time it's going to fail because it just doesn't have the volume to push it up. And a lot of the time it's not even going to spike because it's not going to have the volume to cause a spike, because the majority of buyers are longs compared to shorts. Now, I thought that based on this data, I could not go wrong. If I just looked at the data and I looked a little bit at the volume, and say, for example, I created a nice little volume scale based on some historic data to say if the stock trades 3 million, say 3 million shares pre-market, that's 300,000, trades 3 million pre-market, probably going to trade about 36 million at the end of the day. And then I had a kind of a history of gap and craps that had traded more than 30 million on the day. Stocks up 20 million plus. And I could say kind of like 30% of them actually go. So if it trades 3 million pre-market, there's a good chance that it's either going to spike big, 30% spike, 15% plus, or it's going to gap and go, 30% do that. So you're actually probably you're more likely to lose big than you are actually just to win if a stock spikes 30 million, and the vast majority, as we know historically, are longs. So, I mean, for me, I went wrong because I didn't take into account these heavily traded pre-market volume stocks can run, and some of the stocks didn't run heavy volume, but they had like low float, contract win 10 million, and I wasn't taking account of the news enough. I was solely relying on data, and I've gone wrong in a number of ways here because I've either relied too much on data, and I've not thought, look, you can have the rare exception where it's low float, good news, it's going to run. Or I've relied heavily on data and I've ignored the volume pre-market, and the volume's been 80 million, 90 million, 100 million because I've never seen this volume ever before. And it's shit rocketed the stock. And I've lost both ways. And what I've learned now through a lot of new study is, yes, data is important, but it's just one variable. And you've got to give equal precedence to the news. You've got to really give equal precedence to the volume. I think you've got to think with a low flow, pretty much anything can happen. But most importantly, all of this stuff that I've just mentioned probably adds up to about 50%. And the other 50% is really fundamental. And I'll go into it more if what I'm thinking works, but it's what's the situation of the company? What's its cash like? What's its share structure like? And I'm looking at half of the picture, and when you look at half the picture, you get burned. And these stats are brilliant. The Excel is great, but I'm only looking at half the picture. I really need to look at the fundamentals, and I've seen examples of other people looking at the fundamentals, and they are fucking banking. And I'm talking like banking big. So it's great. I've took this huge loss, but I've made this crazy discovery through taking the loss and people reaching out, and it's lucky that I have this popularity on YouTube because I'm a bit fucking mental. But learning a lot. Every day I'm learning more. Trading small for the future because I've realized that everything that I thought I knew 100%, I only knew 50%, and I'm about to learn the other 50%. I'm halfway there. I'm still learning. And the other thing, I was way too aggressive on the front side, and I should be a little aggressive on the front side and very fucking aggressive on the back side. And it's just a lesson for me. It was tough. I was with interactive brokers. The shares would run out, and it's just not an appropriate broker to be shorting with. So some horrible lessons, but it's really the best thing that's ever happened to us. And there's not a lot more to say. I really believe that. I've topped up a Trade Zero account with 5 grand. I've got a lot of backing and help behind us, I believe. So I'm really feeling like this can go to the next level. Yes, Jeevan, you're a bit of a fucking loser right now. But through every failure comes a braver new solution. And with every solution comes a layer of success. And success is like a cake, Jeevan. You are going to rise like flour, as long as you have some yeast in you. You've got lots of spunk, Jeevan.
We can do this!
And the girls love the spunk.
We can do this!
Especially the Jeevan spunk. But what about the yeast, Jeevan?
Almandua!
What about the yeast?
Almandua! Almand fucking Dua!